as I was thinking about this simple message that I used to preach along the trail, I thought of an old man. I guess he's the wickedest old man that nearly ever lived in my community. When God called me to preach, I started praying for him and his two boys. They were my lifelong friends. Both of them are dead now. And I'm still living in the grace of God. But one day, I was preaching in my mom and dad's church. I'd been in Baylor University maybe 1 year, and Shiloh Baptist said to my mother and daddy, would you ask Lester if he'd hold a protective meeting in the church where he was saved? And my mother said, son, the church wants you to preach a meeting. And I said, all right. And so I remember one morning in that little old Chevrolet that I had, I started out at the drive down the old black road, not blacktop, but just dirt road. And I said, Lord, if there's anybody between here and church that you'd like me to speak to, I'll volunteer my service. I mean, maybe not in those words, but I said, Lord, anybody. Don't make any difference who it is. I'll talk to them on the way. I'm going a little early. And brother, when I topped the hill at old brother J. Frank Davis's farm, you know who I saw walking up the road? Uncle Johnny. I said, Lord, I didn't mean him. And I really didn't. If I'd have known I was going to meet him, I wouldn't have made such a statement to the Lord. Well, he said, do you want me to help you preach this morning, Brother Charlie? And I said, I sure do. I'm preaching in my home church. My mom and daddy will be sitting there, and everybody else that's known me all my life, and all the old folks that have prayed for me. The lady that won me to Jesus, Miss Taylor, she'll be there. And I said, I want you to help me. And he said, well, I don't think I'm going to, unless you're going to do what you said you'd do. Brother, I almost here tonight. I hit on those old brakes, and you talk about squeaking. Those were the loudest brakes I've ever, and I put those brakes on. I threw it up there in reverse, and I come back and back, and that old Chevrolet had a whine.